Be honest, why are you single? Story 1. Capitalism as practiced today undermines the social contract, incentivizing people to work together towards common goals, but to instead exploit their fellow humans for personal gain. It naturally tends toward the regulatory capture of government and erodes the power of the people to enact meaningful government reforms. Tulder, we're in late-stage capitalism, and within the next century will adopt a new economic systems more akin to feudalism. Story 2. I spent a long time looking for the right woman. After years of that, I realized that it was always me doing the searching. Where are the women reaching out for me? There were none. I can only conclude that I was never good enough for them, so I quit trying. Story 3. There is someone I met that I'm convinced is meant for me. I have never met someone more perfect, even with faults, 'cause no one is without them. He is genuinely one of the best people I have ever met, and I'm not just saying that. He lives 2,000 kilometers away from me. He set my standards very high. I like him, don't get me wrong, but I am not in love, yet. It's just that he's shown me you can find the perfect person for you, and that it's not just a fairy tale. He's the only one I want, but I can't have him. I am staying single until I find someone who matches my standards that have finally been raised. They were basically non-existent, so I'm grateful for him. He said he wants to move to my country because his isn't the greatest. It would take years. I offered to marry him for a green card as a joke. I wasn't really joking, but I guess if it's meant to be, it will be. Story 4. There is no point in trying right now. I have fundamental trust issues. I am not able to form new relationships because I am paranoid that I am a joke, but not in on it. Like, my presence at an event literally feels like a gag. People will say normal stuff, and I will interpret it as a backhanded compliment. Illogical stuff like that. It all started after a string of bad trips that happened back to back. Being aware of it helps, but regardless of that, my social anxiety has never been worse. I have resigned. Story 5. I haven't put effort into myself or socializing in a very long time. After making some amazing friends at work, I have been starting to form social circles again. I've also been working out and picking up more social hobbies like improv and dance classes. I'm also moving out of my parents' house and quite excited to be taking full responsibility for myself. I'm quite excited for the life I'm building, and maybe I'll attract the right girl. But for now, I'm just interested in making good, genuine friends. Story 6. I prefer it. I'm overdating. I'm not interested in long-term anything. I like sex, so I do that occasionally, just feel very uninterested in it. I'm also chronically depressed, so that may be a factor. All of it is just too much effort when other things require my effort more. Story 7. Oh, it's very simple. I'm ugly. And while I could definitely have someone ugly or the wrong gender, I'm only interested in dating someone of the gender I like who I'm actually attracted to. I don't have highly unrealistic expectations. I am attracted to a very large proportion of men, but the vast majority of men who are attracted to me are more ugly than I am. Women like me. I don't care. Story 8. Because I want children. I have had 2 serious relationships where I ended up leaving after years because they either kept putting the idea of having children off or decided one day that that wasn't what he wanted. He wanted me, but not children, and I couldn't commit to that. I thought about it for months, but I knew I would end up resenting him. I also have fertility issues, so need someone who would be willing to go to the ends of the earth to be a dad. Lots of men seem to be put off my adoption, which breaks my heart for so many reasons. Story 9. Mine is a very long story, but I won't bore anyone. I'll make it short. My second wife dumped me by text without a reason. Lied too. Her lawyer and the judge how I was cheap and never contributed toward bills and such. I then dated a couple women, each one ripped me off for close to $20,000 between them. Next woman did nothing but lie to me, so I decided to stay single. Lonely as hell, but I can't deal with the bullshit anymore. Sorry if I bored anyone. Story 10. Because I want children. I have had 2 serious relationships where I ended up leaving after years because they either kept putting the idea of having children off or decided one day that that wasn't what he wanted. He wanted me, but not children, and I couldn't commit to that. I thought about it for months, but I knew I would end up resenting him. I also have fertility issues, so need someone who would be willing to go to the ends of the earth to be a dad. Lots of men seem to be put off my adoption, which breaks my heart for so many reasons. Story 11. The people I approached for relationships have all turned out to either be ace, arrow, or I have realized I am not into them as a person. And now I know that I will move in certain amount of time, so I don't want to try starting something when I will leave possibly to hundreds of kilometers away. Story 12. I don't have many friends outside of online spaces. I focus a lot of my time on schooling and potential work opportunities, then playing video games when I'm not doing anything else. I'm not outside often at all. And if I am, it's not talking to others. I have trouble presenting myself to others, and generally consider myself to be generally pathetic, ugly, and uninteresting. I'm okay with that, and I'm just focused on hopefully becoming something that can be useful to my family in the future. Story 13. I don't like going out. I prefer to be with a book, a cup of strong tea, and some classic jazz playing in the background than listening to anyone talking. I have a dark sense of humor. I'm very sarcastic. I have no filter. At the same time, I'm like the chick you go to the games with and all the crazy adventures you can think of. Because I do like nature and spur of the moment, last-minute planned trips. I am a gardener in my relationship, but I truly desire to be a flower. But I can't seem to let go of being the gardener and join the flower bed, sort of speak. I work too much. When I get home, I can barely get out of my car to shower and go to bed. I can't imagine having someone home that will depend on me to prepare dinner and do other house chores, but I do make sure that all the provisions are there for when needed. Again, providing when I want someone to share the burden. I really don't know why I am single, because my expectations are so low they are practically non-existent. But I also don't want to be taken advantage of or used and rubbished. Story 14. I'm trans, and I don't want to be in a relationship until I've finished transitioning. Not all trans people feel this way, but for me personally, the idea of dating or being intimate with someone the way my body is now makes my skin crawl. Transitioning so that I can be comfortable enough in my own skin to date is one of the things I look forward to most. Story 15. I've honestly had a lot of crushes, some reciprocated, and odd of them just happened in a meet-cute way. I've never sought them out. But what has kept me single despite this is that I am super clear on what I want, and I want to be fully committed. Too often, the men I've liked are not sure about what they want and feel anxious towards commitment. I think that's maybe also something to do with age, mid-20s. Oftentimes, even when they can't give me full commitment, they play games to make it into a situationship-type scenario. That's where I'm out. Story 16. Can't be arsed with women anymore. They talk way too much. They're expensive as hell, manipulative, and more often than not, you do all the work while they reap all the reward. Seen way too many friends get shit on by women that take all their stuff, even though they're the ones that cheated on the guy. It's just not worth the risk to me anymore. I know not all women are like that, of course. There's plenty of amazing women out there, but they stay married. The odds are stacked against me at 47, and I'm not willing to risk losing my home at that age. So I chose celibacy about 5 years ago, and I genuinely don't regret it. Story 17. I value my friendships, and some of which are women. Real friends, not we used to date friends, and I have a problem with women having a problem with that. Something about coming into my life and trying to dictate connections I've had for 10, 15 years rubs me the wrong way. Story 18. My mental health. I still have too much trauma to work through for a relationship. I thought I was ready and gave it a shot, but it was too much for both of us. As a positive, because I was transparent about my mental health and baggage before we started dating and had open communication from both of us during, we broke up amicably and went back to being good friends. Story 19. I need time to heal from past relationships and hurts. It just seemed like after every relationship I was packing up my new hurts, pains, and fears along with the new ones and carrying them to the new relationship. That luggage was getting too large and heavy. On top of that, I am dealing with a long-term illness which on its own makes it difficult to have a relationship. Story 20. I am terrible at being affectionate and hate being emotionally vulnerable. I have severe trust issues that I am incapable of fixing due to past trauma and neglect, so I can't open up to others. Everyone I cared about in my past is either dead or abandoned me for unknown reasons, so I gave up forming emotional attachments because I do not want to experience that pain again. I have terrible mental health struggles that I am trying to live with. Tulder, too broken for commitment. Story 21. I honestly couldn't tell you why I'm single. I'm 24 and only had one girlfriend, and I dated her throughout high school and things started getting bad 2 years in. But I tried to stick it out, and after 4 years, we finally split for good. And it was definitely a relief. I finally got over her and moved on to another girl that was always one of the kindest people I have ever met. And I finally got the balls to ask her out on a date, and she was going to college and said she'd be coming back for Thanksgiving break. And we planned more dates, but she got a new boyfriend in that time period, so I brushed it off and moved on. Then I met this girl, let's call her Jay, and she was everything I wanted in a girl. She was nice to me and would compliment me and make me feel seen, but she had a boyfriend that she always claimed she was going to leave and would always string me along and get me to do whatever she wanted. If she called me because they got in a fight, I was there, and unfortunately blinded by love, I didn't realize she was using me and didn't mean anything she ever said. I've tried my hand at dating apps, but never had any luck. I'd get matches, but would only text for a couple days before they unmatched me or just stopped talking to me. The longest I talked to a girl I met on a dating app was maybe 2 weeks. IDK, maybe I'm boring. Maybe it's because I'm short. Maybe there's a vibes about me that people don't like, but I just know I'm tired, man. Story 22. 'Cause aside from me never leaving the house, living at home, which is damn near in the middle of nowhere, and working nights, my dick is too big and could seriously injure someone. I'm talking wheelchair for 3 weeks, PT for 4, and a never-ending flow that would require specially made 8 quad XL tampons to stop. I'm talking a tampon big enough for Optimus Prime. Crazy, I know. Story 23. I'm too picky, and I usually tend to shy away from making the first move on anyone. I'm probably too unattractive, or maybe a part of me is too scared. I've gotten really close, yet I've fumbled it and I fucked it up. At this point, I believe that I'm destined to be alone, and that I don't deserve anyone, and no, I won't use the typical "I'm happy being single" excuse because I'm really not. I feel alone and I've never been so sad in my life. I keep hope for a day. I finally meet the one, but till then I'll keep on trucking. Story 24. Because I'm not trying, I have the tools. Good job, keep in shape, education, blah blah. But the blame is on me for not making any sort of effort to develop a social life or a third place where I might meet someone. Every weekend I go home and take care of my responsibilities, of course. But once those are sorted, all I want to do is engage with my hobbies, and being social feels like it robs me of that time. I might die without ever being married, and I've come to accept that. The good aspect to this is that fortunately, sex and romance aren't very motivating to me, and I'm generally happy. Story 25. I've been suffering a lot after my last and first relationship, so now I sometimes feel like I'm not good enough for a relationship. I even got a girl I like, but I feel like I should just be content with being friends with her, since I don't want to possibly lose the friendship. This is the first time in the past 2 years when I got this attached to someone, and she makes me happy just being around her, so I'm scared of losing this very sensation. Story 26. Honestly, there might be multiple reasons in my case. I'm shy and socially awkward, and I don't do well in large groups of people, especially if they're all new, or even worse, if I'm the newcomer when they've all known each other for some time prior to that. I find it very stressful and exhausting. I'm extremely good at socializing with a maximum of 2, 3 other people at a time, but that's the upper limit for me. I'm a medical student. The academic pressure is unreal, and it takes a huge toll on me, emotionally, mentally, physically, you name it. I'm always drained and on low battery, so to say. I'm often left with literally no time to socialize with anyone besides those few people I find it really easy to do it with, family and close friends, and or too tired to put any energy into that. Whenever I get some free time, not too often for that matter, I find myself needing to spend all that time on basic needs like some sleep and proper eating. This goes for all of my colleagues as well. We're all a bunch of bookworms with no social life. I'm a big nerd. My hobbies include doing research at my university, reading science and philosophy, and collecting action figures. As for fiction, I like watching and reading horror, sci-fi, and supernatural stuff. Not too many people find this attractive in that kind of manner, if you know what I'm saying. Frankly, I've been betrayed, rejected, and mocked multiple times for showing my true feelings to girls. I loved and cared deeply, and now I've become a bit mistrustful of people in general. I find it very difficult to give anyone access to my heart. Story 27. I was closeted in a strict traditional Catholic family, and for years never had the courage to come out or leave. I've since left the faith, but I'm not out to my family. I've never been in a relationship. I've been alone for so long I don't think I can be anything else. I'm scared of being vulnerable and opening up to someone in case I get too attached, and then end up in a situation where I have to choose between my family or being in love. Story 50 years ago, my girlfriend went away to college and met someone. I was devastated. My heart was broken, and I just wasn't mature enough to handle it. I spent decades trying to find someone to fill the void and anesthetize myself instead of working through my grief. I stumbled through life, one dead-end relationship after another. Now I'm just a lonely old man. Story 29. I'm way too scared to hurt someone or myself in the process. I have a borderline personality disorder and persistent depressive disorder, which unfortunately mess with my ability to build healthy and emotionally involved relationships. I get either way too attached or burn bridges just as quickly, with massive regrets later, of course. I have no trouble talking to people, Making friends is also possible, although it takes a certain type of person to like me, but emotional relationships, absolutely not. So I gave up. I've decided it's better to not try and be miserable and lonely than to still end up miserable and hurt others in the process. Fuck that. Story 30. My two different personalities are in a fight, RN. First one, you need to talk to woman and you can do it if you want a second personality. It's a headache. You even get a girlfriend and get committed, and at the age of 20, you got things to study, focus on it, and then we can think about girls. First one, you can't I do both, then. Second one, if you are looking for a long-term relationship, then you must spend enough time for it. Otherwise, it could lead to breakup, which leads to depression. I go through hell if you are fine right now. I get into such headache which is temporary. First one, you do have a point. Getting a GF, at least temporary, won't be that hard. But to keep it going is definitely bit hard. And she will only be hers if it was meant to be hers. Story 31. I've been in a relationship with a girl for 5 years. After a few months, I've been with another girl with 2 more years. Both finished badly. I've been cheated on. The other person wanted to have more space for herself, etc. Even if I always been a person that wanted to search for relationship of my life, it didn't work. Now I'm 23, single from October 2023. I discovered casual sex for the first time. Maybe too much. I had a few chance of getting in new relationships, but I stepped back every time. Honestly, I'm scared of getting a girlfriend again. I feel like I need to stay by myself for a bit, even if I really want to be stable with someone. I'm scared of putting my energies in something that won't last. Story 32. I hate myself too much and I attract people who treat me the way I see myself. I had an awful past relationship and not many friends, so I'm currently focusing on learning how to build real platonic relationships before I delve into anything else. Also, after the bad breakup, I went on a hookup spree with random men, and it destroyed my self-perception and identity. I felt awful and disgusted with myself, and having a crush on someone would make me absolutely spiral. I would base my mood off if they texted me back, etc., and realized I can't live like that anymore, and my standards were so low. Celibacy has given me back this sense of control and space to learn about myself and work on myself and what my goals are. I think it will be a long while before I'm interested in anyone again. Story 33. I work 80 hours a week, 7 days a week, between 2 jobs and 2 states. Sometimes I'm only home to take a shower and grab something to eat before it's back to work. I am still recovering from my last relationship, which is why I'm not even attempting to look. But if I was, I'd only have maybe 30 minutes a week as spare time. I haven't had a day off since last year, and I'm barely making rent. I no longer have a relationship with anyone in my family, and I only have one friend, mainly because I simply do not have time to foster any kind of relationship with anyone. Not to mention I'm only interested in serious people. Let's talk about maximizing our IRA contributions and establish clear communication from the beginning. Meanwhile, everyone is out partying every night, then checking their bank account to see if they can afford an Uber to work because they woke up late. Story 34. I'm a woman who games, so I don't really leave the house except for work, food, gas, etc. I have self-esteem issues and childhood trauma I've been trying to work on. I've mostly been trying to survive life and haven't really tried the whole dating thing, even though I badly want it. It can be difficult for me to even think someone would be interested in me when I've never had a relationship, and I'm an adult. I should be more social in my church group. I have a little social anxiety, but I think I just really need to bring a wingman to activities, otherwise it's always get the food and leave. Hopefully I can do this one day. I'm actually fine talking to men if they're placed in front of me. I guess it's just the act of finding someone with common interests. I do have feelings for a gamer guy that I game with. We've been online friends for a few years and have exchanged photos of each other, but I can tell it's one-sided. There's also some personal issues, so I can't pursue him sadly. Story 35. Recently broke up with someone. It's been 7 months, but realistically more like 3/4 because the breakup was messy and there was a time where we got super close in the interim. I tend to kinda always be date straight out of relationships, so I'd like to not date for a few months to get out of this habit and truly let the pain settle and truly process the loss because my ex and I truly did love each other. It's a big loss. I also just need to figure things out now that I'm unemployed. I want to spend the emotional energy on myself. I really do need it because the rejections are hard and many.